This video, I'm going to show you how to shift to a parallel reality instantly using the power of belief. This video has the potential that by the end of it, you know how to shift to a parallel reality in a completely new way. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you that of understanding belief shifting, the process of how you go from one reality into a new reality instantly based upon your beliefs. Now, here's the truth of the matter. Okay, this is something that just like the law of attraction, we are continuously attracting things in our life, whether we're aware of it or not. Even if someone doesn't necessarily focus on the law of attraction, there's certain ways that is working in their life, whether they're aware of it or not. In the same way, when it comes to shifting to parallel realities, shifting to parallel realities is a natural byproduct for the way reality works. So think of it like this. This is the easiest analogy I've used. It's an analogy I've used before, the film strip analogy. Every separate little frame of what I'm doing right now is a totally separate parallel reality. They look similar in the same way that if you have a film strip, each frame will look maybe very similar, but if you have the light shining through it, you know that one, all those frames exist at the same time, and two, they're going through at a different rate. It's just that we have that of a time-space reality experience where we experience it in a linear type fashion because we have memory. So I'm able to go like this and remember that I just went like this. Now, if I were to stretch it out on Final Cut Pro, which is what I use to edit, what I could do is I could go, plug it into my computer, and what I could do is then stretch it out and then see, and I could do this thing where I minimize it and I can see into each individual frame, and I make it look like this, 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 this. Each little one is a completely separate parallel reality, even though they may look very similar. Now, here is the power of belief that I want to share with you. This is why parallel reality shifting is so powerful. It has to do with understanding that of the power of belief in reality itself. Now, first off, if you've ever read the book Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, he's known for bringing yoga to the West. He was around many enlightened people during his life, and he, in this book, talks about it. That is also the only book that Steve Jobs had on his iPad. He read it every year the last 40 years of his life. And there's a reason for that. I think it's a very powerful book. And you kind of feel and you can resonate with some of the experiences that this Paramahansa Yogananda guy had. And he literally experienced around these gurus what would be considered magic. They could do magical things. Some of them could bilocate. Some of them could make objects appear and materialize. They could do these amazing things. Now, why could they do that? Well, first off, they understood the truth about reality, and that is that reality is a dream. Reality is a form of dream. Things appear to be real, but it's just different compositions of light. And because of that, they were able to create magical experiences because they understood that truth. Now, the other part of that is they weren't limited with their beliefs. And they were of a high vibration too, so they had more ability to influence reality in that way. They'd be considered what we call enlightened people. Now, let's even look at people that aren't necessarily enlightened. Here is some of the power of belief, just to show you what is powerful, and then I'm going to give you the process so that you can apply it in your life, and you can also become more magical. I was watching this video the other day with Dr. Bruce Lipton. He was talking about the power. He has a book called Biology of Belief, and he was talking about the power of belief. And what he said was, there's a community, some Baptist church, in some place, and what they can do is they get themselves to a certain state, and they believe so strongly in being able to be protected from God that what they can do is members can drink strychnine, which is something that you normally wouldn't make it through. 99.9% of people would take strychnine and not be here anymore. And what these people could do is, because their belief and their faith was so strong, they could drink it and nothing would happen to them. And they would do these kind of things at events and they'd be totally fine. There's also been enlightened people that they have stories of in India. Well, they'll do the same thing. They'll drink it and they'll be totally fine. That's because they have such a strong belief that then it overpowers the chemical composition of what they're putting in their body. Now, 99.9% of people won't have the belief strong enough at this point to do that. So I'm not recommending that you do that. However, the key in this is knowing that there's things like this that are possible. And if this is possible, then these other things are possible that we could do that isn't detrimental to our health like that, or that risky. Now, even if you just look at the placebo effect, they've studied this thousands and thousands of times. And in order for a pharmaceutical to be graded as powerful, it has to beat the placebo, because the placebo is very powerful. A placebo is when they give you some type of like saline pill, sugar pill that has nothing really in it. They tell you that it's going to give you some type of effect. You take it and you get that kind of effect. Then they tell you afterwards there was nothing in that pill you took, but yet you got a certain result based on the power of suggestion. And that happens a lot. They have also sham surgeries. They have surgeries that they've done where somebody goes into surgery, they like a very heavy knee replacement, or not replacement, but heavy knee surgery. What they do is they put someone into surgery, they put the anesthesia on them, they open up their knee and they close the knee. They don't actually go in there and do whatever they're meant to do, and that person will come out of it and heal, and the knee will repair itself as if it had that surgery. So it's almost like the body just assumes that it's healed, and it goes to recreating and healing itself through the power of belief. So these are the things that are possible with the power of belief, literally to change the physical composition of the body. Now you could take this a step further. This is a story of somebody that went to a hypnosis show with his daughter. A guy and his daughter went to a hypnosis show back in the 60s or the 70s. This is a while ago. And it's a classic example. It was in the book, The Holographic Universe. And this guy goes to this hypnosis show. Hypnotist brings him on stage, hypnotizes the dad that he can't see him, the hypnotist. And what he does is then the hypnotist takes out a cigarette, starts smoking a cigarette. The dad starts freaking out because he's been hypnotized to not see this hypnotist guy. And all he sees is a smoking cigarette, or is a floating cigarette. He's like, what the hell's going on? So then the hypnotist kind of comforts him, gets him back to a certain state, and then he says, okay, in a moment, you're not going to be able to see your daughter. And he hypnotizes him to not see his daughter. So he looks around, can't see his daughter. Then what he does is the hypnotist brings his daughter right in front of his dad, and his dad's looking right through his daughter. The hypnotist grabs that of a timepiece, like a little clock thing inside of his pocket, hides it, puts it behind the daughter so that the daughter's back, so that the guy couldn't, if he could see his daughter, wouldn't be able to see what was written on the clock, whatever it says on the clock, not just the time, but like the brand of whatever it says on it. And he hides it, puts it behind the daughter, and asks the guy, read what it says on this piece, on this little timepiece. He reads the time, and he reads that of the brand that's on it, which is some type of brand. And he was able to see through physics, through what we would consider to be the law of physics. He was able to see through his daughter because he believed his daughter wasn't there. The power of belief is so strong that we can see through physical matter, because the matter isn't actually physical the way that we think it is. We live in a holographic type universe that is programmed based upon our beliefs. So the reason I share all of these different stories with you is so that you see that you can change your life and change the parallel reality that you're on instantly by simply changing your story. We all have a story that we tell ourselves. We have a story about who we are, a story about our relationships, a story about how our health is, a story about how money comes to us. This story keeps us within a certain frequency band. It keeps us having those experiences over and over and over again. And the thing with parallel reality shifting is people think the same thoughts every day, do the same things every day, feel the same emotions every day, therefore get the same thing over and over and over again. But if they were to change that, they would then change the parallel reality they shift to. So the key to this is understanding that you're shifting whether you're aware of it or not. The key is creating a greater degree of change between where you are and where you want to be. If the idea is you're making $50,000 a year and you want to make $100,000 a year, as long as you stay doing the same things you've always done, you'll stay within that parallel reality timeline. But the moment you change your story is the moment you can then go on a higher trajectory, but you have to change your story. How do you change your story? There's this easy 3-step process. First off, awareness. Awareness. Become aware of what your story is. You might have a story that you always attract a certain type of person in your life. People always take advantage of you. You might have a story that this is the way things are. And that'll keep you in that mindset. But when you become aware of the story, that's when you can then change it. Second step, own the story. Own it. At a certain point, you agree to it. Something happened, you agreed that this is the way reality is, and because of that, that's been your life since then. You cannot change that which you do not own. Even if someone did something to you, you agreed that that had to affect you somehow. And from a higher level, from a higher self perspective, you may have set that up so that you could experience some limitations so that you could punch through it. So become aware of that. You own it. Third step is you set yourself a trigger. A trigger could be you doing a little motion like this. That's what I used to do. Change like that. Got that from Dr. Joe Dispenza. Just go change like that. It's like something that brings in your physiology. And anytime you find yourself going into the same autopilot mind of the old story, you go change and then you think of the new story. You repetitiously wire a new one in. So what that might look like is every time you go and you're getting ready to go see someone you haven't seen in a while and you normally feel inferior when you're around them, as you start to tell yourself that old story, you go change and then you think about them in a way where you're having a great conversation with them. You realize that the belief is there from some agreement you made in the past and it's an outdated agreement. And you'll find that if you change your story, you then change the reality. You then change the way you relate to the other person. So that process right there, awareness, owning the awareness, and then setting the trigger and then deciding to change, you can apply towards anything in your life and it will transform your life if you apply it. But even if you create the old shifting to parallel realities that you don't prefer, just acknowledge that you're still creating it. Because then you can create something new. That's how powerful you are. You are so powerful that you can create experiences of limitation. And you could do it over and over and over again without even realizing it. But this is about becoming more aware. Become more aware of the reality you're shifting to. Now, if you're looking at one reality of where you currently are and where you currently want to be, you may need to create a great amount of change, which means these two parallel realities may be very different. But the key is stepping out of the circle of what is known, the autopilot mind, the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same things. Step out of the known and then move into the unknown. Don't be afraid to step out. Don't be afraid to be yourself in this new way. Because you are constantly changing. And when you start to step into the unknown, that's where magic begins to happen. So what I'm recommending you do is you be brave, you have courage, and you do something you've never done before. It'll break out that old identity that's keeping you locked in. And as you do that, you'll find that things begin to come even easier for you. So this process about realizing you're shifting whether you realize it or not, the key is creating a greater degree of change by changing your story. Change your story by first off becoming aware of your story, owning your story, setting a trigger, and then repetitiously wiring in a new one. And with time, you will begin to raise your frequency and to be on a more optimal timeline that you prefer to experience. So, hope this helps you understand how you can shift to the parallel reality that you want. It's within your grasp. You just have to realize you're doing it. It's a natural byproduct of the way reality works. And then you can actually go in the direction that you want. So, if you want, what I'm sharing with you right now is a part of what is called the Shift Experience. The Shift Experience is a digital program that I am making right now that will help you shift to the timeline that you want. You will be a completely different person by the time you are done with it, and you will also shift your level of consciousness as well. It's going to be in the top of the description box below. You can sign up and get first access and and hear about it before everyone else. If you want, you can sign up there. Also, I'll be doing more live Q&As on Instagram, so if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me right here. I also post twice a day there as well. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the little notification gear so you can see the daily vids that I do. And other than that, as always, peace, much love, and namaste.